This is the JJRC Aircus. It looks a whole lot like a DJI Phantom, but in a smaller package. From the battery to the gimbal, that's right, I said gimbal, to the brushless motors. This thing takes a lot of cues from the Phantom 4. Now, can it hang at the Phantom 4? Well, let's find out. Alright, so let me give you a quick rundown on the Aircus. It should be a pretty awesome little drone. For under 200 bucks, you get a gimbal, an actual 2-axis gimbal, brushless motors, stabilizing that 1080p camera should be awesome. Well, I just don't like the flight characteristics. I found it jittery, not super easy to control. It just wasn't great. The last drone I had, the Mu 4 from MJX, much better in the air. Now that camera also terrible. We'll talk about this camera a little bit later. It does some things well, it does some things pretty not well, is the nice way to put it. But yeah, well, hey, let's take a look at the JJRC Aircus. Hey everybody, this is the JJRC Aircus X6. It is built to look a whole lot like this guy. That's my Phantom 4. But is it a competitor to the Phantom 4 at a lower price? Well, no, it's not. This thing is going to cost you a little under $200 depending on which package you go with. It is not a competitor to my Phantom, right? It is a competitor to all of those sub $200 drones, the MJX drones, the SEMA drones, other JJRC models, and it is nice. It has one thing that those things don't. That's this. This is a 2-axis gimbal, and it's moving not on servos, but using brushless motors. So that is pretty fantastic. And speaking of brushless motors, I've got little small brushless motors powering this guy, which is again a super bonus. Love that. Now it is about the size of a SEMA X5 or X5C if you had one of those. A fun little drone, a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier because we've got some extra features, and of course these brushless motors. If we look in the bottom, we can see these are some fake sensors, nothing going on there. But it does have altitude hold in addition to GPS, right? So to do those GPS things that you're looking for, like waypoints, return to home, orbit, follow me, it'll do all of those cool features, which is good. Let's take a look at this camera, closer look at the camera. Now it does come off pretty easily, which is nice. Hopefully in the future you'll get a better camera option, maybe a 3-axis gimbal, maybe a 4K camera, who knows. With this thing, this is a 1080p camera and it shoots at 25 frames a second. That makes it pretty comparable to most sub $200 drones, right? You're not getting super fantastic cameras. I suppose you could put a GoPro or a different action camera underneath this if you wanted to. It's going to be able to carry that if it's a light action camera. But yeah, not the best. I mean, again, not going to compete with Phantom 4, but definitely going to compete against other sub $200 drones. I'm not a big fan of 25 frames a second. I'd love to see 30 or even 60, but again, I know that adds cost. Now, it is transmitting over Wi-Fi. This is a Wi-Fi antenna, and what they call 5G, and that's the AC protocol. What does all that mean? Well, it means you need a newer smartphone. Old smartphones aren't going to work transmitting the FPV signal. Now it is stored in the camera here, so it's not over the signal, which is great, right? You need it stored here for better image quality, so you do have that, which is nice. Even the battery looks like a DJI Phantom mini battery. It is a LiPo 7.6 volt 300 milliamp hour battery. You're going to get about 25 minutes of flight time from this little guy. I do really like this remote. We've got a really nice LCD screen here telling me my height, my distance, and my current speed. It also tell me things like mode and GPS, satellites, and things like that. Buttons along the top changing my speeds, headless mode. These are my GPS modes: return to home, GPS on, GPS off, turn the road on and off, adjusting my camera angles. Then on the back, I've got some switches to turn on my video and to take pictures. Runs on AA batteries, 4 of them. Nice, good metal gimbal stick ends, aluminum. I like that. Has a good, decent feel. We're not talking Hall sensors or anything like that, but good. Smaller than the original Phantom remote, but looks, again, a whole lot like it. All right, so let me just talk a little bit about the flight characteristics. I found it to be jittery. It certainly could not handle very much wind. I actually had a hard time getting it started and up in the air, and so did Chris. It just didn't, wasn't super intuitive. It didn't work really well. Maybe got a bad unit. I don't know. Anyway, let's talk about this camera. Here are a couple of still images. Not terrible, 1080p. It's not super crisp. I do like the colors. Blues are nice and bright, but you can get some props in there if you're not careful, which is kind of a shame. Then there's the video. Look at that. Frame skipping. Gosh, it's just, it should be better than that. When we get it up in the air, we see jello. They went through all this work of putting a nice 2-axis gimbal, and then it still has jello. It's really kind of sad because this drone has so much potential. It could be really good. Look at that. That red car's nice and red. The sky's nice and blue. The green leaves are nice and green. But the gimbal's, kind of doing its job, but, it's still shaking. It's just disappointing. Honestly, I would go with a $99 Tello. It is a better drone. Image stabilization works. It just looks good. Hey, it's 720, but you know what? It's really good 720. One of these days they're going to start making these drones well, and hopefully that day comes soon. So maybe I'm being harsh, but, I just didn't have a good unit here. Perhaps it was a fluke. I have seen good reviews. Captain Drone has done one on this, and he really likes it. His work quite well. Now, great idea, just poor implementation. Unfortunately, I say that a lot about these drones. If you want something that works well, go with a Tello. It's $99, and it is pretty fantastic. We'd love to hear from you, so drop us a comment below. What do you think of the Aircus? Are you going to get one? Are you going to stay clear? Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on halfchrome.com. Good luck and happy flying.